Who Raised Y'all podcast. I'm your host, DC. We got a great show for you tonight. We are going to we're going to go over some pretty sensitive material, I would but which is probably why. All right, here we go. So, sorry about that. Couple technical difficulties. All right. Okay. So, today we got a couple different things that we're going to touch on. So, if anybody's been hearing what's going on recently, with obviously everybody knows the election, and everybody's calling fraud, and everybody's saying this side did that side did this. Well, there has been a lot of information out there without any type of like real fact checking. I mean, people have been saying, Trump did this or Biden did this or whatever, but that's why this one is the fact check edition. We're going to go through a couple different things and see what we can do. So just bear with me, because I'm going to be flipping back and forth between a couple different screens just to get you guys the information that I feel that you need to know. So first and foremost, the first thing that we're going to talk about is a gentleman by the name of DONGSHENG. I know it sounds like Ding Dang Dong, the Plaza Hotel. No, but it's DONGSHENG is his name. And he's actually a very renowned professor in China, econ professor, actually, to be exact. So he actually had a video come out this week where he spoke a bit about America and our election system, and kind of what how they feel about us, and how they feel about Trump, and how they feel about Biden. So I'm going to play a little bit of this for you guys to check out. Please watch intently, and make sure to read the subtitles. Now, for this being the fact check episode, I do want everybody to know these subtitles have been verified and validated by two official translators. So they both sifted through this data and decided that this was correct. So let's see.
因为我们知道前边特朗普政府跟我们打贸易战，那么我们为什么搞不定特朗普政府啊？为什么以前1992年到2016年之间，中美之间各种问题都能搞得定？是不是？大家发现没有？所有的危机，不管是银河号事件，还是炸大使馆，还是撞了飞机，所有事情全部是床头吵架床尾和，2个月之内搞定。什么原因啊？这儿我抛出一个可能又要是暴论了，就是因为咱们上边有人啊，就是我们在美国的权势核心圈啊，我们有我们的老朋友。时间关系，我这都不多展开，给大家讲个小故事。
So he goes on to say, obviously we don't have any time, and then he also shortly after that talks about how that he can't divulge too much information because he doesn't want to betray anybody. Now, for those of you who don't know this, which I feel like everybody should, China is a communist party. That's why it's called the CCP. So the China Communist Party has not had good dealings with Trump, because Trump actually kind of put a way higher tax on their imports. And if you look at anything that's in your kitchen or bedroom or wherever you're at, you can see made in China. So they were actually our biggest importer for years and years and years. So actually what we ended up doing, well, not me, but what Trump ended up doing was putting a higher tax on them. So that kind of upset them and pushed them away from us in the trade war. That's why this professor here said we are in a trade war. So I'm going to skip ahead here real quick. Let's see. So let's see if we have it down here. All right. So right in here. So this is a this is about Xi Jinping, which is the leader of CCP. He's their emperor, and he actually had a book that he wrote, and he was doing a national release, an international release, and he wanted to get into a bookstore in DC. Not him personally, but to push this. So here's what DONGSHENG, his job was to secure a venue for a promotional event. So here's what happened in that.
到这个东西方工作方式不一样，你临时抱佛脚让我去沟通这个地点、时间，是吧？很麻烦的。结果那个书店老板很傲娇，说抱歉，接待不了，接待不了。后来我就问了，我说你告诉我哪位作者把这个场次定下来了？啥意思啊？天下没有美元搞不定事情，是吧？如果一沓美元搞不定，是吧？那我就，两沓。这个当然这是我的工作方式了，是吧？结果。那么结果呢？这个书店老板很傲娇，说：“抱歉，我不会告诉你哪个作者已经把这个新书这个时间段给定下来，是吧？我们是有原则的啊。”他跟我非常傲娇啊，跟我很装。后来一打听才知道，这哥们儿啊，以前是民主党人，他是民主党人，以前做过驻亚洲的记者啊，对我党啊非常有看法，所以故意的不配合。后来我以为这事儿得黄啊，至少得换时间换地点，是吧？结果。我们把矛盾上交嘛，让领导去解决吧，是吧？反正我是客串的帮忙的，是吧？结果到了礼拜四早上，咱们那个部的一位副部级领导啊，也是那天的真正的 keynote speaker， 是吧？他给我打电话说：“小迪啊，咱们按我方原计划，在那个时间，在那个地点继续照办。”啊，吃完午饭我就赶去，结果领导到的比我还早，给我介绍啊，今天我们之所以能够按照我方原计划得以顺利执行，就是因为这个我们今天这位功臣，顺他介绍一位大鼻子老太太，是吧？一看就犹太人。这个老太太给我递名片啊，我叫某某某啊，我这名字不卖了，是吧？我叫某某某，请多关照。
So I see these subtitles are a little small down here for you guys. But what I wanted to really get across there is that he's starting to talk about somebody who is in Washington, and he said she had a huge nose, so he could easily tell she was Jewish. It's not true. But so he said, I could easily tell she was Jewish. And here he says, I won't betray her name. She said, my name is so-and-so. Nice to meet you. And if you want to watch this video on your own, I highly recommend it because just after this, I won't make you guys read a novel during a live video podcast. But so what he goes on to say is that she was able to flip this guy. She was able to flip him because of what you saw earlier, their connections, their higher powers that are here. So when it comes down to collusion with different governments and who's doing what and what's coming from where, I think it's important that everybody just step back and take a look at the facts. Go through and actually take a look at the facts, because if you don't, you're just going to get filled with all of this other kind of this paradigm of what's real, what's not. But if you actually just use Google, which Google is an amazing source, you can find a bunch of different stuff on there, and you can find how these things come about. Now, granted, he doesn't go on in the video to tell him who helped him sway this person to actually be able to get into that book venue, nor does he tell where the venue is. But this leads me kind of into China collusion, Russia collusion, and who's dealing with who. So Trump was impeached. He had an impeachment trial. They were going through the impeachment process because of Russian collusion. Now, the Russian collusion, after the Mueller investigation with the FBI, they didn't find anything. Doesn't mean, I'm open to all thoughts and beliefs. It doesn't mean that anything could have been hidden or not. But this here is showing you straight up and down how China deals with America. So I think another thing to kind of pay attention to is within this video, he talks later about how China is such a wealthier power, and we've taken their technology, we've taken their ideas, we've taken their things and made them popular, I suppose, because everybody sees the United States as the greatest country in the world, which we are. But they see us as trendsetters. So if anything blows up in America, it blows up everywhere. Now, on to kind of, and if you guys want a link to that video, it is on Facebook. It's right where it's right there. So you can look at it. Let me see. Let me put it up here real quick. So it is in the live stream video section here on Facebook. So the DONGSHENG, you just click the links and the see more. It's right under there, which we're going to move on to the next one here. Because with Dominion voting and the election and how people have been saying that it's rigged, well, there's no full-fledged evidence, quote unquote, that it has been rigged, a rigged election. But I flip back and forth between partisan news channels day in, day out to kind of get the best sources of information I possibly can. Not the best sources, but the best sides of each story, I suppose. The what the media is giving out for us to take in and to decipher kind of what we want to. But I just found the other day kind of an interesting thing, and I'm going to share this with you guys as well. This is the second link within the live stream. So let me pull this up. So it's going to be, this is from a little government agency called the SEC. So the SEC, all right, now I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. The SEC right here, United States Securities and Exchange Commission. This is Form D. This is a SEC document that you have to fill out, right? So you'll see up here, this is issuer's identity. Issuer's identity is the person who is issuing a payment. So this is the Securities and Exchange Commission. SEC deals a lot with money changing hands, wire transfers, all that. So this is a limited partnership. This place is called Staple Street Capital. All right, Staple Street Capital. If we go over here, and let me remove this real quick. I'm going to bring it back to you, so don't worry. If we go over here and we pull up another tab here, it's this one. So this one, Dominion Voting Systems acquired by its management team and Staple Street Capital, right? Staple Street Capital. And if you don't trust me, trust Dominion Voting Systems, because this news was provided by and shows related links, dominionvoting.com. Source Dominion Voting Systems. Right. So this is theirs. This is their press release from Dominion Voting Systems. So as we go back, right, as we go back to this other one here, we're going to go back to the SEC document. We see that Staple Street Capital, as listed here, right, of Delaware, this is the principal place business contact information for Staple Street Capital. Related persons, yada, yada, yada. All this, yes. So industry group, private equity fund, pooled investment fund. So they're basically an investor. So they are, what they do is invest money, equity right here. They invest their equity into different businesses. So Staple Street Capital went ahead and was bought. The sales compensation, right, was bought by a place called UBS Securities LLC. Now, you might know about UBS being the United Bank of Switzerland, I believe is what it is, UBS. If you Google it, you'll know their logo. But the UBS Securities LLC is only 25% owned by the actual bank of UBS. The other 75% of that company is owned by the CCP. The offering amount right here, that, yes, does say $400 million. Total remaining to be sold, $400 million. So we see use of proceeds, nothing. Yeah. So once we keep, so this basically states here that State Street Capital was bought by UBS Securities. UBS Securities. And once we look into State Street Capital, which we just did, and this purchase date, which I think is important as well. Let's see, where's it at? Within the last 5 years, specify the year. This was 2020. This was this year. So CCP, which this guy who you just saw, DONGSHENG, who works for the CCP, well, you can't really work for him. You're pretty much owned by them. He just pretty much stated that the higher ups, the powers that be, their old friends within the United States government, have been very helpful. So I don't know. I don't see this type of information when I do flip between CNN or Fox News. I don't see this type of information anywhere. So I find it to be kind of surprising that this is just public information. It's on the SEC website. It's on the SEC website. This is a form of a Chinese Communist Party company, corporation, 75% owned corporation by the CCP, purchasing State Street Capital, who, as we saw just a bit ago here, shows that they bought State Street Capital, and State Street Capital, which we see here, was acquired. It acquired Dominion Voting Systems on July 6, 2018. So this is July 16th, 2018. So this is Staple Street Capital, leading New York-based middle market private equity firm. Dominion Voting is a top provider of election tabulation solutions to government customers. So we just see in plain view that the SEC has posted the fact that Dominion Voting Systems was purchased by China. It blows my mind that, this type of stuff is just easily Googleable, right? But the highest paid media outlets in the world can't cover it. They don't know. They can't give us any insight into it whatsoever. Now, I have seen some people stepping up on the state level, which is great. Now, on the state level, we have seen that, I don't know if you guys saw, but Facebook is in a lawsuit right now. Facebook is being sued by 48 states for monopolizing the social media market. So basically, if you didn't know this, Facebook, obviously, if you've seen Social Network, you know the beginning story, but this is more recent in a sense. Facebook owns Instagram, they own WhatsApp, they own those two, because what they would do is they would see competitive companies coming up, and they would just go over and just is an offer you can't refuse, that type of thing, right? So they would just buy them out. So what the states have done is, hey, you've come into the federal aspect of our nation and have purchased all of these smaller companies. And if you're surprised by that, that all of these smaller companies are being shut down by the government, then just look at what's happening right now. It's a lot of information, and I'll probably get a lot of hate from this, but I do want to make this well known. I don't have a party that I cling to. I'm more of like an independent, I guess you could say. I agree with policies from certain people. From certain people I do not agree with policies with, and the people that I agree with, I don't agree with everything that they do. I am basing this strictly off of facts. So if it walks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. But when it comes down to just being able to see the Dominion voting system was acquired by its management team and State Street Capital, and then also be able to go over and see that this year the SEC State Street Capital or Staple Street Capital. I'm sorry. I've been saying that the wrong. Yeah. Yeah, I have. Wow. Somebody should have corrected me. Staple Street Capital. So Staple Street and Staple Street Capital here, Staple Street Capital, Avenue of the Americas, 10th floor, New York. All right, same company. And UBS Securities purchased Staple Street Capital. UBS Securities, it's just a mess. It's a mess because this all becomes very, very muddied because we're so divided into two different parties. Like literally, you can change the news channel to a different channel and see the complete opposite. Like you'll go on to Fox News and you'll see rioters and flame balls being thrown, and it's crazy. It's just nuts, looting, everything. It's just wild, wild stuff. And then you'll go over to CNN and they'll say, a peaceful protest. But the back image is engulfed in flames. It's like, how stupid do you think we are? I mean, a lot of us are just being led blindly, and there's nothing wrong with you for feeling that way. There's nothing wrong with you there's nothing wrong with anybody. It's the system that's changed us to think differently. We've been put into a footprint of an oligarch high power, and we're supposed to follow those footprints as they continue to go along. And it's up to you whether you want to or not. You can do your own research, and I beg that you do. I beg that you do. There's a lot of things that, people will call conspiracy. Is it conspiracy if it's government documented? If it's documented by our government, is that conspiracy? I don't believe so. I think that's a form that was filled out by two companies that merged, and that was that. But enough of that. I hate getting into those types of things because when I do, I feel like I'm just a downer. But I don't want to be a downer. I want to be an uplifter. And I think that if we flip our kind of mind state on that and say, hey, yes, this happened. It's really, really messed up. How can we make it better? How can we turn around? How can we look at this and say, hey, you know what, guys? We're privy to what you're doing. We're not stupid. Like, hey, we saw this. Hello. Like if we just sit back and stay quiet, then of course. I mean, a wise man once said, you treat them like dirt, they stick to you like mud. And it's the truth. Sometimes people that have been led to believe a certain thing will continue to stay comfortable there because it's familiarity. It's the familiarity of being led. Just like people when they go on an audition, actresses, oh, what's your type? Were you typecasted? What's this? What are you doing? Oh yeah, that was this. Now you leave that audition feeling like, well, this is all I'll ever be. I'll only ever be able to be this. And it's that type of thinking that gets us stuck. It gets us stuck in a rut, and we see that everything around us is not actually what it seems. It's not what it seems. Democrats and Republicans are best friends. It happens all the time. There's people out there that are, I know people that are Satanists. Am I a religious person? I'd like to think so, but I'm not going to hate a Satanist. I don't know. I don't know what, maybe just because I was raised one way does not mean it's right. So for everyone to think, oh, well, this is this and that's that, and that's the bottom line. It's not true. Go out there, do your own research. Be a good person. That's it. And as you go out, and maybe you'll venture down a rabbit hole and look into some of these things that I've pulled up for you here tonight. Maybe you'll find more. And if you do find more, comment, let me know. We'll talk about it maybe at another time. I had to do this episode personally just because there was so much there was so much untruth in the media. Not like there isn't every day, but there's so much slander from each side to the other side. And it's like, guys, we're people. We're America. You're not. These guys on TV, you're not America. You go to your nice little like 2-bedroom, if you can afford it, in Silver Towers on the West Side Highway, and you chill and you do whatever you want. You're not out here. You're not out here literally living off of nothing. You're not out here with your businesses closing. That's why being united is so important right now. Being united is so important right now because we are being torn apart, and it's not by our own doing, because we're not going out on the streets and tearing each other apart, saying, oh, well, F you. No, F you. No, it's not that. If anything, it's this. Hey. That's who we are as people. So be those people. Be those people. Go out into the world and be those people. And if you somehow get into a conversation about something that's going the wrong way, just step back and breathe and say, you know what? This isn't worth it. It's not worth it. Because right now, it's so important to stick together. With everyone else lying to us, we can't be lying to ourselves as well. That's the bottom line. So I appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. I didn't want to go off on a rant, but I did because I've been pretty upset about the way that the media is portraying this. It doesn't have to be this way, but I appreciate you guys, and I promise the next week's going to be maybe a little bit more lighthearted. But there was just too much out there not to deal with. So I really do appreciate you guys stopping by. It's been a great time. And I pray and hope that you guys will find peace if you need it. And hopefully we will get to a point where the world will become gang again. Make America gang again, guys. This has been the Who Raised Y'all podcast. Thank you so much.